Hey all, welcome to Acting Autistic. I'm Matt. I'm diagnosed autistic, I am dyslexic, and there's probably a bunch of other things. But anyway, today I want to talk about self-diagnosis. So, a lot of people in their journey to being diagnosed autistic will often start kind of raising questions about themselves, looking at other people, questioning things, and starting to go, is there a chance that I'm autistic? And a big first step in getting there for a lot of people is self-diagnosis. So they've looked at other people, they've done research, they've interacted with the community, and they've come to the conclusion that maybe there's a chance I'm autistic. And they start recognizing those traits in themselves, and they start recognizing things, and they can start to feel like they might have a place, like they actually belong somewhere, because so much hasn't made sense for so long, and now there's something that is making sense to them. It's talking to them, and so they will self-diagnose, or they will, like self-realize within themselves that, hey, you know what? I'm autistic. Now, there's a bit of debate out there with different people of, is self-diagnosis a thing, or is it not? And so today I just want to talk about my point of view on that, and the idea of self-diagnosis versus getting a professional diagnosis of autism. Now, for myself, I've been professionally diagnosed. I've been medically diagnosed as autistic. But that wasn't always the case. I initially started off as self-diagnosing. So I was having a point in my life where things were just getting harder for me. They were getting darker. And I felt like I was just kind of floating in this nothingness of who knows what. I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. I wasn't feeling a part of various cultures and friendships and things like that. And I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that things were getting harder. And I started researching, I started looking into things and kind of going, well, surely there's a reason for this. It can't be just the doctors telling me that maybe I'm just a hypochondriac. Or it couldn't just be that maybe I'm just feeling a little depressed, or I'm a little bit stressed, or a little bit anxious because, life is tough, and, a young adult with a kid and a career and stuff, this is just normal. I'm like, I know people in similar situations to me, and they're not struggling, or seemingly not struggling like I am. They're not seemingly having the same issues that I am. It can't just be normal life. And if it is normal life, well, the normal life sucks. And so I went, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be something else. And so I started researching and looking into options. And one of the things I was starting to look into was autism. And the more I looked, the more I started to relate. Like, things were starting to make more sense, and I started to talk to different people. I reached out to different people who were autistic and going like, hey, look, my name's Matt, I'm going down this path, and I'm thinking that there's a possibility that I might be autistic. And, just communicating with people, finding out more about their own experiences, and asking them questions about, these are some things that I deal with, or things that I've dealt with. Is that something that you've dealt with? Is that something that kind of rings true to you? Well, thankfully for myself, a lot of the people that I communicated with, a lot of people that I talked with, they were really understanding. They were really helpful. And that helped me build up the confidence to actually go out and seek an official diagnosis of autism. And if I hadn't have been met with that kindness and met with that understanding, if I had have been met with vitriol instead, met with ridicule, told that I can't, I'm not allowed to self-diagnose, that's not a thing, it probably would have shattered me. I probably would have retreated and maybe not sought out that official diagnosis, because I would have felt like it's just another place I don't belong, another community I wasn't going to be a part of. And I may have also felt, well, these people are actually autistic. They're diagnosed autistic. And if they're ridiculing me for thinking that I could be autistic, then clearly I must not be. And so thankfully that didn't happen. And thankfully it bolstered me to be able to go out there seek out and advocate for myself by going to a doctor and asking for a reference to go to the appropriate person or appropriate people to then go down that track of getting a diagnosis. It also helped me know what to kind of be armed with, because I'm so used to just kind of going, well, I don't know what's normal and what's, like everything that I experience, my life, all of that is my normal. That's what I'm used to. And I wasn't too sure of like, well, how are normal people meant to react? What is normal for neurotypical people? I didn't know if what I was doing was neurotypical and I just wasn't coping, or if what I was dealing with was me trying to manage and deal autism but not being diagnosed with it. So it helped me to, be able to ask the right questions and to be able to answer things more truthfully to myself, not try and mask things like I have for a lot of my life. I was like, no, this is how I manage things. This is how I see things. And it made me feel more comfortable in saying to the medical professionals, this is my life, and this is what I deal with. And yeah, it's my normal, but it's also stressful. And I don't know why I have problems doing these things that no one else seems to have problems with. And all of that started with self-diagnosing myself, with going, I think I'm autistic. Everything makes sense. I feel like I must be autistic. And then moving forward from there and getting that diagnosis. So I guess what I want to say to anyone else out there who has self-diagnosed, I am with you, right, 100%. Self-diagnosis is the beginning of a journey for so many people. And I feel it's part of my responsibility and something that I should just be doing, and that I think others should be doing, that we are accepting of self-diagnosis, because I've been seeing doctors for years with various things that in hindsight were triggers to do with autism, things to do with, shutdowns and meltdowns. I have had a meltdown, and not once did anyone suggest that maybe there was autism, maybe there was something there. I was diagnosed clinically depressed, which I disagreed with. I never once thought I was clinically depressed. It didn't fit who I saw myself as, with the way I felt about life. And I understand that depression is one of those things that doesn't make sense. It's generally chemical imbalances and things like that in the brain, and it's not a logical thing. So I know you can't really apply logic to it, but I knew within myself depression wasn't it. I knew it wasn't also, yeah, there was anxiety and there was stress in there, definitely, but I knew those weren't the key factors. To me, I had always known there's something more to it. But the alleged professionals never once hinted at autism or anything else. It was, you're clinically depressed. And I was forced onto taking antidepressants, something I didn't want to do. I flat out refused. But I was told, no, you must take these, because they tried to say, oh, it's admirable that you want to just deal with this without taking the tablets, but the tablets are, they're going to help you, they're going to make things better. And I got coerced into taking these tablets. And I just remember that when I took the antidepressants, for one of the first times in my life, I felt dead inside. I felt nothing, which is apparently not how you're meant to feel on antidepressants. I felt worse. I felt more depressed on the antidepressants than being off them. And that was another thing for myself that made me go, this doesn't make sense, but I didn't know what else to look for. I didn't know what else to ask. And again, no one ever suggested it. I've been going to doctors. I've seen psychologists, and no one ever hinted at it being autism. And so if I didn't start doing the research myself and advocating for myself and attempting to self-diagnose myself where no one else could, then no one else would have stood up for me and go on, have you looked at this as an option? So if no one else is going to stand up and do that for me, then I have to do it for myself. And if I hadn't done it for myself, I wouldn't have my diagnosis that I have today. And I wouldn't have the better understanding of myself. And I wouldn't be a part of an autistic community. And I would still be struggling with all the things that I have been struggling with for so long in my life. It's because I started that journey with self-diagnosis, that I am now where I am now, where I am today. And where I am today is a much, much better place than where I was. And it's all because I started that journey myself with self-diagnosis. So anyone else out there who is self-diagnosing, and I wouldn't even just say just for autism. I think with there's a lot of things that you can look at and you can recognize and see yourself in, and start that research and start that advocacy and start that kind of self-diagnosis. Because the first step is you yourself going, you know what, I think I know what's going on here. And most people will know more about themselves and understand themselves better than anyone else ever could. So if for you to start your journey, if for you to get the assistance and the help that you need involves you self-diagnosing, I am 100% absolutely agreeable and okay with that myself. I'm not going to gatekeep who can and can't be a particular thing. It's not my position. It's not my place. Now, on that same note, do I think that people who think that they are autistic should go and get a professional diagnosis at some point? Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Because especially if you do need assistance or you need more help, that official diagnosis will get you there. It can also be a peace of mind. It's one thing to in yourself go, you know what, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. I'm autistic. But to have that official, I guess medically piece of paper, whatever it is, the report, to say, hey, I'm autistic, can be a massive peace of mind as well. It's not just in your head at that point. It's there, it's written. But I can also see how official diagnosis can be unobtainable to some people, because it's not cheap, it's not quick, it's not easy, and a lot of the time you're convincing people who aren't autistic themselves to recognize autism in you, to understand your lived experiences when, and I mean no offense to anyone in the medical professions anywhere, but unless you are me, or unless you have autism yourself, or ADHD, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, you don't know what my lived experiences are. You can't possibly actually understand what it is to be me and what I go through on a day-to-day basis. And so you're trying to convince someone, look, this is my life, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is where I really think everything is pointing towards. And it can be really difficult. And as I said, there's also the costs and the time and all that other stuff involved. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I live in Australia. We have Medicare and health support systems in place here that are quite robust. They're quite good. They are designed to actually help people. I also have private health insurance, and it's not like a top tier level one by any means, but it's quite a comprehensive health insurance. And I was still a lot of money out of pocket for getting my diagnosis. It also took a lot of time, and I am extremely lucky that my employer was very patient with me and understanding with the whole process. But also, again, on that same note, living in Australia, we have access to personal leave, we have access to annual leave and paid leave things. So, I could afford to take the time to go and do what I need to do for diagnosis. So I was in a very privileged position to be able to get my formal diagnosis. But not everyone's in that position, and I can understand it. It can be really difficult. So even though I do highly recommend that if you think you're autistic, you should go get a professional diagnosis, it's also not achievable for everybody. And so the next best thing to help yourself, to help your own mental state of mind, if you have to self-diagnose, and that helps you feel like you've got an understanding of yourself, some kind of control over your life, it makes you feel like you're actually a part of a community of people who actually understand you, so be it. I'm not going to stand in your way, and I don't think anyone else should either. So I guess on that, anyone out there who if you're thinking you're autistic and you're wanting to find out more, then yeah, definitely do the research. Talk to other autistic people. I don't know if this channel filming thing that I'm doing will ever actually go anywhere, but I like to think that whether I've got one person who watches these or I've got 1,000 people who watches these, if there is anyone out there who wants to talk to someone who is autistic about their own experiences and what they're dealing with, and they want to feel safe in talking to somebody, and they are self-diagnosing and or in that process, like, come talk to me. Absolutely come talk to me. I will put my social media details in this video, and yeah, I am more than happy to talk to people. I am more than happy to support people, and if I can give any advice or direction or anything to help you out, then I am absolutely there for you, because life is already challenging enough with autism on a day-to-day basis, and it doesn't need to be made harder by people gatekeeping the diagnosis, by people gatekeeping being autistic. I think more than anything else, we need to show more understanding of each other. We need to show more support of each other. Or if you're not willing to do that, then maybe just sit by the sidelines and don't tell someone else that they're being them wrong and that they're not allowed to be true to themselves, that they're not allowed to be something that you don't agree with. Because at the end of the day, if you're not actively harming someone else, if you're not actively stopping other people from living their own life, then you need to do what you need to do for you. Because sometimes we don't have other people who can do it for us. And so you need to advocate for yourself, you need to say something for yourself. And I think especially within this community, we need to really be more supportive of that. So, yep, my links, my social media is somewhere. If you need to talk to someone, come talk to me.